Welcome to Secular Soup. Stay tuned for real talk about atheism, feminism, politics, parenting, and whatever the fuck else Amy and Amy want to talk about, because this is their show. And get ready for a whole lot of motherfucking profanity.
You want to hear a secret?
I won't tell anybody. Go ahead. If I sit next to you, I'm going to get gonorrhea. It's going to jump into me. Just two ladies hanging out.
Is it okay for me to make fun of his neck waddle if I make fun of my own neck waddle?
I'm not sure.
That's a real ethical conundrum.
Would you know if you were born a lizard person, or can you be like adopted into the...
I think you know.
We're such professionals.
We really are.
Buckle up, bitches. It's time to have some soup.
I'm Amy with a Y.
I'm Dell with a D.
Dell with a D. We're just two blueberries floating in a bowl of Minnesota tomato soup because we are both in rural Minnesota. If you are not familiar with Dell, go check out the last episode of I Date Me. Dell joined me for that too because Amy is going through some shit. And so Dell has been kind enough to just kind of jump in and fill in and talk inauguration and murder with me. So
Inauguration and murder.
Yeah, inauguration. First, do you want to introduce yourself to people and let them know where you podcast and who you are and what your whole thing is?
Yeah.
All that stuff?
So I have a podcast that comes out every other week with a couple guys called Skeptarchy, and it's skepticism and liberal politics is kind of the idea. And I also have a few episodes of my own show, Evidence-Based Eating, which I still retain hope that I will find the time for soon. I have to say, in the last month, I have been excellent at adulting. So it's all coming together. I'm getting shit done in normal amounts of time. My house is clean. I've been exercising every day. I know. I've never been this much of an adult in my life. So
yikes.
If you just cut out all the bullshit, it's amazing how much more stuff you can get done. So I have high hopes that I could pull off this podcast thing yet.
It's a great show, even if you don't have, the episodes that are there already, everybody should go listen to those. So, yeah, evidence. I'll put links in the show notes. I'll probably remember. Who knows? Okay. We'll see. So we just went through an inauguration this week. I think that's, hold on a second. My computer's being weird. Let's see. Oh, computer, quit making noises. I have to shut that. Okay, there we go. Anyway, so yeah, I heard there was an inauguration last week, and apparently we have a new president, but Trump will always be my president in my heart.
Yeah, I saw there was a lawsuit saying that he's not really the king of America. It involved a lot of Lord of the Rings analogies that were written into the lawsuit. What? Yeah, so I'm sure that's going to be super successful, and we're going to find out that I believe the lawsuit said Biden is not the king of Gondor, so...
Okay, well, however I can get Trump back, I don't care. Lawsuit, hostile takeover, I miss him so much. It's only been half a week, and, I don't know what I did before we had Trump. It's sad. Did you watch the inauguration?
No, not
at all? Or did you?
No.
I actually got invited to a Zoom get-together with some friends, and there was day drinking involved.
Oh, wow.
And I don't normally drink ever, but I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. It's the inauguration. I'm going to do some day drinking.
I did buy a bottle of champagne, and I drank some and hung out with some friends that evening, but we didn't really talk about the inauguration. Yeah. It was just a celebration of...
Well, it was funny because we were watching it, and even though it was live, we were all watching it on different apps or channels. So it got to one person first, and they'd be like, yay, he's sworn in. And we're like, wait, no, not here. We're still looking at the guy doing the... Yeah. Wasn't Lady Gaga great? I don't know. She's not singing yet on my end. Yeah. It was fine. It was an inauguration. It was I got bored with it by an hour into it.
Yeah, it does feel like they would have had to work really hard to make that entertaining, to be honest.
It's really just not. I mean, Lady Gaga did an excellent job, and I loved her Mockingjay pin that she wore. That was gorgeous. J-Lo did great. I mean, everything, but, I don't know. My biggest irritant about this entire thing, which you may or may not have seen on my Facebook page, but there was so much, especially on TV that day, just so much congratulating about how we have the first female vice president and how that glass ceiling has been shattered and just non-stop all day long, how wonderful that is. And it progressively made me more and more upset because I thought, it's 2021. Really? Mm-hmm. Like, we're supposed to be jumping up and down and getting excited that we finally have a first female vice president. Like, that should have happened 40 years ago.
Yeah, that's what passes for thrilling right now, I guess.
Yeah. And, like, I don't want to take anything away from the achievement. I mean, it's great that it's finally happening, and I'm very happy for Kamala Harris, but, like, why am I supposed to throw a party because in 2021 we finally got a woman in the second place spot in America? Like, not even the first place. Ireland had a woman president in the 80s. And
they didn't even legalize abortion until recently.
Exactly. Like, come on. It was Ireland. Like, patriarchal Catholic. Nope, they had a fucking female president in the goddamn 80s. So I'm very bitter about that. I don't know. How about you?
Yeah, I just, honestly, as soon as Biden won the election, my political, organ in my brain was just kind of like, all right, we're cool. It's cool. Everything's cool. Like, I haven't panicked about the insurrection. I haven't panicked about any of the lawsuits. My brain has just been like, all right, it worked out. We're good. We're coasting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can go back to being interested in politics as a thing that I like to be interested in and not a thing that I feel like is going to murder me at any moment.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. And, I don't feel any particular joy or excitement at having a woman vice president because it's not the presidency. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, it almost felt like, I don't know. Look, it's so great for her. She's the vice president. Oh my gosh, this is amazing. Like, is it
Well, and I feel like with Hillary Clinton losing to Trump, it just felt like it got stolen from us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the happy moment got ripped away in just, the grossest possible scenario. So,
in a great big fuck you from
when
America.
They had a woman protagonist in Star Wars, I felt very excited and inspired. I do not feel excited and inspired by having a woman vice president. I just don't. And I don't know, maybe I should be happier. And I'm not going to shit on anybody else's joy. I've definitely seen some people be super excited about it, but it just doesn't really do anything for me because it's not the same.
If it's made you happy and you're feeling joy about it, good. I'm happy for you. I'm just, you know what it might be is that the show Veep has been around for so long, and I've seen it so many times that we've had a female vice president for years. What are you doing?
I love Veep. That was a fun show.
Veep is great. It's about time for a Veep rewatch. If you haven't seen that, people listening, go watch Veep immediately. It's fantastic.
I never watched it a second time because I don't consistently have HBO, so I only get it kind of on and off depending on what's going on. But
that's kind of what I do too. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, I get it for 2 months now. I'm gonna binge the shit out of this and just do nothing but watch that for days and days. I have a problem. So.
That's not as bad as my problem because what I've been watching while I work out and occasionally in the background while I'm working on boring things is other countries' versions of 10-year-old Next Top Model shows. So, I can't judge anyone else's TV choices.
That sounds amazing.
I've done all of Australia. most of Great Britain's, but it was very hit or miss what I could actually find available to watch. And now I just finished season 1 of New Zealand's Next Top Model. I don't know if I should do Asia's or Germany's when I'm done with New Zealand's. It's a tough choice.
That is a very
Germany's,
tough call. I mean, you can watch them.
Germany's is very good, apparently, and it's still going to this day, but it's subtitled. And Asia's is all in English.
Ew.
So...
God, I hate subtitles. And I hate dubbing. So there's just no winning with me. I can't watch anything
I don't mind
foreign.
dubbing that much. And, like, technically, I have a certificate that says I speak German, so, like, I feel like it would be good for me. Yeah, in college, in order to get my Bachelor of Arts, I had to pass the proficiency in a foreign language, so...
Wow, I never had to do that, but I never actually got my college degree, so... I took French in high school and took it for probably solid 3 years and cannot speak a word of it because our French teacher was... amazing and just let us have fun the whole time.
We didn't even have French
really...
offered. They cut French about 5 years before I got to high school. It was German or Spanish. That were our choices.
Yeah, I'm sure they probably don't have it anymore. I don't know why they even did back then, but it was just German, Spanish, and French. That was it.
Yeah, I feel like that's the classic
if I had
Midwestern
to guess...
foreign language offering.
Oh, yeah. Well, because there's so many German people. Like, you know, you can't swing a dead cat without hitting somebody who's at least a quarter German around here.
Are you German?
I am very German, yes.
Yeah. My husband's 100% German. I'm like 70% German.
I am at least a quarter German
Irish.
Because my grandfather on my mom's side was 100% German. That would make her half and me a quarter, but I also have German ancestry on my dad's side, so I'm all kinds of German. I think I'm the only Minnesotan with no, like, Scandinavian heritage.
Oh, no. My husband and I, no Scandinavian at all.
Really?
Nope.
See, it's in rural Minnesota, everybody has some kind of Swede or...
I think that's more common up by you. Down in the Stearns County region, it's heavily German and not actually that much.
That German Catholic, that's how Morrison
Norwegian
County
or
is
Swedish.
Too. Yeah.
Yeah, Stearns County is like hardcore German.
Fun.
So.
Fun fact, I once heard that we were very close to having German as our national language and not English. I can't remember when they decided this, but it was like, I don't know. Soon after the formation of the country, and so many people spoke German that it was kind of a toss-up, but they went with English, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, there was a German language newspaper published out of St. Cloud until like 1930.
Yeah, I'm surprised it only went that long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that.
So speaking of Germans and Minnesotans, you had a family murder story you were going to tell us, but then you couldn't find the info on. But do you want to give like a condensed version of it? Because murder is always fun.
So there's my family historical stuff. I don't know. I feel like maybe I should save it for when I find the newspaper articles because the old-timey newspaper articles are very fun to read. But I would like to tell you about a local cold case, which is... So it's not as famous as Jacob Wetterling, but
is anything?
It is a cold case that was like never really solved, but kind of solved. Like the family feels like they know, you know. Okay. But that just recently happened, like within the last 5 to 10 years. So my next door neighbors growing up, they had a daughter about my age. And her name was Susie. And she was named after her aunt, who was murdered as a child.
Oh, okay.
Which she always found a bit morbid. It was like, I'm not quite sure how to feel about being named after a murdered person. Especially like when she hit the age that her aunt had been killed at.
Creepy.
So her mom was super, super good friends with the mother of Jacob Wetterling because there's like some folks in the area that were all sort of on cold cases. And surprise, surprise, if you've ever listened to the In the Dark podcast, I know you have, Amy, but if the listeners have ever listened to the In the Dark podcast on the Jacob Wetterling case, the Stearns County police were just horrifically bad at their jobs.
Terrible fuck-ups, yeah. Just
awful at
fuck-ups. You can't even really believe it until you listen to that whole podcast and go, are you fucking kidding me? Like, my whole life I thought, It's a small town. It's, they're doing the best they can. No, they really weren't. They were just awful.
They were not. They were terrible.
Yeah.
And it really seems like they probably were in this case too, because it turns out when you put all the facts together, it appears to be like a bunch of almost murders that kind of follow the same pattern by the same dude. Like he even served time for some of them. They should have known this. Yeah. But anyway, what happened is there was these two gals. Let me find the details here for you.
I wonder if this is one I've heard about.
Well, you might have. It's Suzanne and Mary Reker, Reker. It was 1974.
I think I did hear about this one. I think I heard about it in conjunction with the In the Dark podcast somehow, because it was another case that had never been solved.
It was mentioned.
That should have. Yeah. Okay. I've wanted to know more about this one, so cool.
Yeah, well, and I actually have a family connection on the murderer side as well. So
sweet. Nice.
The uncle of my cousin. So, like, you see how that would be. The uncle of my cousin's on the other side, not the side that I'm related to that cousin, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense.
So Suzanne and Mary Reker went missing. They were 12 and 15 years old, and they went to the grocery store to buy school supplies. It was like the last week of summer or something like that. And they never came home. And they didn't find them until a month later in Quarry Park. So this area is known for their granite quarries, and there's parks that used to be granite quarries, and then they fill up with water, and then you can go swimming in them. And then also it can just be a park, like some of them aren't deep enough to swim in. And they found their bodies out, like, in an area that people don't frequent that much. I'm sorry, there's a lot of thumping happening for some reason. I don't know what's happening.
It's ghosts. I'm sure it's fine.
I mean, it is an old house.
What happens when you talk about true crime? You get ghosts.
People have died in this house, so
Oh god. I like having a brand spanking new house that was just made in 2008 and no chance for ghosts yet, so that's cool.
That's so American of you, Amy.
It really is, yeah. Anyway.
So they found them, and they found both their bodies, and I believe that they found them, like, fairly fresh, even though the girls had been missing for, like, a month. And they had been stabbed many, many times. Both of them had. And one of them had been assaulted. They basically found nothing. Basically no... They basically had nothing. They had no leads. They had nothing to say to anyone. I'm just looking. So that one of the interesting details is they found one of their diaries, which said, if I get killed, do X, Y, and Z. Which is the weirdest thing for a 15-year-old to write in her diary.
What? Oh my god. I don't know. I feel like maybe 15-year-old
this is what her diary said.
Might have, but yeah, go ahead.
If I am murdered, find my killer. See that justice wins over. I have a few reasons to fear for my life, and what I ask is important. Why would a 15-year-old write that? Is that not just so disturbing?
So was she being stalked, or did she have somebody that had threatened her, or...
I mean, it had to be, right? Like, what 15-year-old would write that?
Why else would you... Yeah, there's no reason you would write that otherwise. That's bizarre.
So I don't know if it matters that they found one body at the bottom of a quarry, like, under a lot of water, right? And one body, like, next to the quarry. And, like I said, only one of the older girls had
only one was assaulted.
So
I wonder if the one was the target and the other one was
just with her, right?
Yeah. Ugh.
So, there's this man, Herb Notch, and this is my cousin's uncle.
Okay.
My dad knows the family, and he always just said that the whole family had, like, a criminal gene.
Oh, I'm related to a few of those families, so, yeah.
So one of them... has been in prison. Well, I think he's been perhaps in a psychiatric institution because he did end up killing his roommate, but it was all related to hearing voices, and he actually babysat my cousins. And he said in the trial that he heard voices telling him to kill the kids. And he was just like, no, why would I kill the kids, you know? But he did end up killing his roommate, so that's terrifying.
Yeah.
But my dad always said that Herb was the scary one, because Herb was the smart one who knew how to get away with things. He still served some time for other things. So, for example, in 1976, he was arrested for kidnapping a 14-year-old girl while she was working at a convenience store, took her to a gravel pit outside of town, sexually assaulted her, and then he pulled out a knife and stabbed her and left her for dead, but she survived.
Jesus.
Now, he did this with another person, like a classmate of his, as his accomplice, but his accomplice basically rolled on him and was like, no, it was terrifying, and I did not understand what I was getting into, and I definitely didn't think we were killing anyone. Yeah. And he said the whole thing was just terrifying because the guy had no remorse at all. He said it was like squishing a bug on your windshield.
Oh, my God.
So they served, like, a lot of time in prison. I believe this gentleman also had, like, a large number of children, all with different mothers, like 9 or 10 kids.
Kind of like Trump.
Yeah. So anyway, you know, that's someone that a very similar point in time, very similar. There were some other details, like the way he cut the sweater of the girls and stuff that seemed similar.
Oh, my gosh.
So the family really zeroed in on him, but the police just had nothing. Like, they just didn't have, like, can you imagine, like, having a murder case like this and just having, how could there have been no evidence on these girls, right? Like,
well, and what I don't understand is, and I will never fully understand this, but when something like this happens and the local police department knows that it is just not within their skill set because it's something that doesn't happen a lot, why are they not reaching out to anybody they can get help? You know, like, reach out to the FBI, reach out to the state law enforcement, but it feels like the bigger departments always have to come and enforce themselves on the smaller departments. But I feel like if I were in charge of law enforcement in any area and something like this happened, I'd be like, fuck, we're way out of our depth. Who can we get to come in and help us? But it seems like it's so territorial at the same time. Like, they just, no, we're going to solve it. It's our jurisdiction. We're going to do it. And then they just kind of let everybody down. I know nothing about law enforcement, but I like to speculate wildly.
It should be their responsibility to, like, call in people with expertise. Like, you know,
like, that
these
should
girls
be the
were
law.
These girls were reported missing, like, the same day that they didn't come home from the grocery store. Like, I don't know. I've seen some people being rude about, like, oh, they left at lunchtime and no one reported them missing until 5 p.m. or something. But, okay, it was the 70s.
Yeah.
It was the 70s.
Nobody would have noticed until dinner time. That's just the way it was. I mean...
Well, and you know how the police can be about missing persons cases, too. Like, a lot of times they won't even take the report until they've been gone, like, a certain amount of time.
Well,
it's
especially
like
girls
the police would never do anything if you're like, my kid's an hour past curfew. The police would be like, okay.
And when it's a 15-year-old girl and with a 12-year-old, you know, well, she probably met a boy somewhere and sister had to come with her and she'll be back. And, like, I don't know. I can see them not taking any of that shit seriously, which... really scares me, because if one of my children went missing for an hour, I would know that there was some foul play involved. Like, they don't go anywhere, but I guess that's what keeps them safe. They don't leave.
When you say that,
yeah.
So anyway, back in it was recently. Okay, yeah, it was like 2018-ish, I think. No. It was recently, within the past 5 years. The mother of those girls was still alive, but was getting quite elderly. And Herb was in St. Cloud Hospital with liver failure. And she wore a hidden mic and, like, went in with the intention of getting him to confess.
Yeah.
So he claimed that he didn't do it. He kept saying that he didn't do it. He was really angry. And then, at the end of the conversation, he did say, you know what? I'm going to hell. I know I'm going to hell. And she said, you've got a few days left. You can make your peace before you die. You can tell me what really happened. And he just said, I'm going to hell and I don't do church. And for her, she said that was enough of a confession, and just the way that he acted when she confronted him. Like, she didn't publish the tapes or anything, but, and he died a week after that. And she considered that to be like her closure on the situation. That was like, she felt like the way he acted when she confronted him, even though he wouldn't like technically admit it, you know, and back in the day, at one point, this guy supposedly passed a polygraph, but we know how accurate those are, right? And it just seems like it's one of those situations
they need to get
where
rid of polygraphs altogether. I don't understand the point of even having them, but
it would be really interesting if someone actually got the records to what the police did or didn't do in this case, because what's out there is just like nothing.
Yeah.
You know, the only information that's out there is one girl had been stabbed 6 times and one girl had been stabbed 13 times. And that's, you know what I mean? So there's like how, and especially like if this was the first time they did anything like this, I have watched enough murder mysteries to know they probably made mistakes, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And especially with her writing that, she even wrote who should get her stuffed animals when she died. like
something was going on. That's just too weird. I don't.
Well, you can imagine if he was that creepy of a guy, and if he was like, you know, he had been known to like ask for pictures of girls at school and stuff, apparently.
Oh my God. Yeah, totally.
Ask for bikini photos, like, and if he was that, you know, you just get a bad vibe off some people sometimes, like what his accomplice describes, right?
Yeah.
She could have totally been like, yeah, he's gonna kill me. This is terrifying, right?
Yeah, we don't have any really good murder mysteries that I know of I mean, there have been a few, but they seem to get solved most of the time. We had one guy who...
That's helpful.
murdered somebody, man, probably early 2000s, and ended up having left town with the fair company, like the company that does the rides at the county fair.
Oh, yeah. He
hit the road with that when they left. Yeah. Became a carny, and they put him on America's Most Wanted and found him in Michigan or something with that same carnival company. But stuff like that also makes me wonder, like, I don't entirely trust the local police department to get it right either, because they're just a tiny small town police department, and maybe they're looking at the wrong person. I don't know. Police, have you heard about the Delphi case in Indiana? Oh, God, it reminds me of that. It's 2 girls. It was, their names are Abby and Libby. And I think they were 13 and 14. And it was February of, I want to say 2017. And they had this, like, day off from school, and they had gone hiking on this really high bridge where they lived. You could go to this park that had this old railway bridge, and they had taken pictures of each other and put it on Snapchat, and they both ended up dead under the bridge down the hill. And the police department has never released their causes of death or if they were assaulted or not, like nothing. But they got video of the guy who did it because one of the girls had her cell phone and was smart enough to hit record. And so not only did they have footage of this guy walking, but they have his voice on audio telling them. There's a great podcast called Down the Hill, because the thing that the police released was a clip of him saying down the hill. So clearly he was like telling them to go down the hill.
Right.
And so there's all these theories about who it could be, and they've done, they did 2 different composite sketches that look totally different. They did one like the first year after it happened, and then I think last year sometime they came out with a second one, and they were like, no, it's this one. Like, look at this picture. And they're 2 totally different, like, one looks like a guy who's in his 50s and one looks like a guy in his 20s, and different types of hair. And But you look at it and you think they have video of him, they have audio of him, and they still can't, and they refuse to release anything else, because I get that they want to hold something back to see, to make sure that they have the right person. But like, if they were to release at least a little bit more, maybe the public could actually help figure out who it is. Like, because the video they have is just, at least what they've released is just a clip of like 1 second of him walking, so you can kind of see what his gait looks like and what he's wearing, and his hands are in his pockets, and and apparently that was taken from like 65 feet away with the cell phone. And from what I understand, at least part of the crime, if not the whole thing, is captured on either video or audio. So, like, you know that they recovered the cell phone because that's where they got the video. But it's just, there's so much, it's heartbreaking and creepy, and it should have been solved by now. Like, it's, there's no fucking it's a small town.
Like, how can you do better than getting the dude on video?
Yeah. Like there's people that have different theories, but most people, like, I was watching, I have gone down this rabbit hole 700 times because there's so much you can watch on YouTube about it, but they interviewed John Douglas about it, the original mine hunter from the FBI, and he's like, they need to be releasing more so that the public can't tell. Apparently nobody can tell who it is at this point because you can't see his face. He's got a hat, I can see why people might not know, but if they released a few more details, maybe it would click with somebody, or someone would know something. Or, like, it's just this tiny town in Indiana, and they figure it has to be somebody who's either local to the area or is familiar with the area, because that bridge that they were on, you wouldn't know about unless you lived there. Mm-hmm. And they think it was probably somebody who was familiar with hunting locally because of the way, because of where they were found and the brush you had to get through to go there. And it's fascinating. There's all these theories, but you just think, how? But it's kind of amazing to me how the police have managed to keep so many things a secret, like, especially in a small town. Nobody knows how they died. They've never released it.
Never leaked it. Nobody said anything.
We don't, we have no idea. We just know that they died. And
have you ever run across the website Behind the Pine Curtain?
No.
Okay, so that's a website who basically catalogs any mysterious murder or sexual assault in this area where I'm from, because it's all about, like, basically the theory behind the website is that St. John's Abbey is like hiding
There's
things.
something going on there. Yeah.
So St. John's Abbey, it's a college with like thousands of students, and it's also got a bunch of monks, and a bunch of those monks have in the past few years been convicted of sexually molesting children. And so, these girls were very involved with the St. John's Parish. They went to church camps there and stuff. So there's been several monks that were connected to other murders or molestations that have also been suspects in this case. So, but it's just, like, they don't make any claims that are too spurious, but it's just interesting because whenever I Google any mysterious crime in this area, I end up getting back to this website over and over again.
What's it called? Behind the Pine Curtain or Behind the Pines?
Correct. Behind the Pine Curtain.
I can put a link for it.
I'm sure they're just like anything mysterious or unsolved crime in the area.
Yeah.
They're connecting, like, oh, it could be this priest, it could be this priest, and they'll collect like and they have lists, too, of, like, these are all of the monks that have been convicted. These are all of the monks that have been accused. These are all of the... And that was So St. John's Abbey is like a parish. And then there was St. John the Baptist, which, like, we didn't use the Abbey, but we were, like, the same geographic area. And that was my church growing up.
Okay.
Which is... I don't understand why there's two churches with overlapping territories, and like our church was in the basement of their church. It's
that's
very weird. I don't know. It's super weird. But there's also a prep school there for like students age 7th grade and up too that get taught by the monks. I mean, the whole thing is just. But yeah, so it's an interesting website. I'm sure all of the things that they collect, you know, even things like college students who have gotten drunk and fallen in the lake and died. You know, they put those on here and say, "Oh, I was going to ask."
I was going to ask for what you think, because that's been a thing for years, is the number of just college students who end up in the river, usually in St. Cloud. Usually they were drunk, and usually it's males, college age, but there's kind of like this, it seems to happen every couple of years or so. And I know there's a whole theory about, you know, the happy face killer thing where they're, you know, somebody graffitis a happy face, but I don't know how much credence there is to that. But it does make me wonder if something specifically is going on here, because I don't know. I'm not sure I buy that many college students get drunk and stumble into the river on their own.
That's the question, right? Like, it's really hard to know, especially when you think...
It's very hard to know.
When you think that the police are that incompetent, it's like, how do you know how many missing persons cases are actually foul play and how many aren't? It's really hard to know what's more likely.
Well, like when you're familiar with the area and you know, like when they're describing, oh, the person was here with their friends drinking and going, and you're like, how the fuck does that person get by themselves at this particular spot? Like, I don't know. Knowing college drinking culture around here, I don't find it at all hard to believe that people are just getting shit-faced and falling off a bridge. But at the same time, usually you're partying with your friends, and especially college students, in an apartment, or even if you're bar hopping, you notice if one of your friends doesn't show back up.
I think, Amy, is girls have a culture of not walking home alone, and I don't think guys have that. Like, they walk home alone, right? I think we are like, why would you ever be by yourself if you're drunk? Because
because we wouldn't do that.
And they do, probably. I'm guessing. I mean,
but which could also, could make it more susceptible that they are just drunk and they fall into the river, or who the fuck knows, or they're drunk and somebody does something to them malicious and we don't know, because I don't know. I find the whole thing fascinating. I remember watching the whole Smiley Face Killer thing. I think Oxygen or somebody did a thing on it, and I was just, at first I was really into it, and then by the end of it I'm like, oh my god, they are reaching so hard. Like, it's just they're really reaching to put this show together because they want to turn everything into a smiley face. But I don't know.
Well, and in the end, weird. You know, the criminal syndicate is right in front of us. I mean, there are over 100 credibly accused people at St. John's of sexual assault.
Well, and people don't realize there's how many Catholic universities are there in this one little region? Like, it's they've got St. John's, St. Benedict, who's the other saint? Wasn't there another one?
Well, St. John's and St. Ben's are like sister schools. St. Ben's is where the women go, and St. John's is where the men go. So technically, if you're a woman, you don't enroll in St. John's.
Okay, yeah.
But they share classes, and
scandalous. Anybody who has listened to the Okay Then podcast that I do with Marissa about the TV show Fargo knows that I have a deep loathing for St. Cloud. Just the town itself. Like, I lived there for a while. I just really dislike it. So, I didn't know you lived there. Not for very long. Ugh. No. When I met my husband, he lived there. He actually grew up in Little Falls, home of Charles Lindbergh. But at the time we met...
Was that a thing people in Little Falls are very excited about?
Still. Oh my God,
I didn't even remember that.
You did. That is their claim to fame. That. And if you go to Little Falls, you will see Oh, yeah.
I mean, I've used to work north of Little Falls. I drove through it a lot, but I don't remember.
Little Falls is... I don't even know how to describe... Little Falls when I first, I never went there as a kid. There was no reason you would ever go to Little Falls for any reason other than to drive through it to go to St. Cloud. But when I first went into the town, when I was then dating my husband, I'm like, this is an adorable little town. Like, I wouldn't mind living here one day. And he's just like, nope, there's no fucking way I'll ever live here again. Because it's just a very typical Catholic small town. He's like, no, this place is total garbage. But St. Cloud...
It's very Catholic. That's where really my dad's family has been. Like, they grew up right next to Cathedral School, and that's where they all went. And Cathedral, of course, has its fair share of sexual assault allegations as well. So that's nice.
I mean, St. Cloud, I hate mainly just because I think it thinks too highly of itself. I feel like St. Cloud is a person that I can think about in my brain, and I don't like them. But no,
I do not like that person.
I lived there for probably a year. Like, when my husband and I started seriously dating and moved in together, I moved in with him down there because I lived in Brainerd at the time, but I ended up living down there and driving back here for my job for a while. And then we got married and we lived down there, and then we moved back here because St. Cloud is the fucking worst. And I really don't like rural living that much, but I would rather live somewhere smaller than St. Cloud just to not have to be in St. Cloud. So, yeah, I have a lot of issues with it. When I lived there, I worked for this community foundation, and St. Cloud is also very, very Catholic.
Very Catholic.
And so I was a secretary at this community foundation, which a community foundation basically gets... how do I even explain it? They start charitable funds. So, like, if you want to start your own little mini foundation, you can have them manage it for you, and they fundraise, and it's a whole thing. Oh. But some of their biggest donors were from the Christian radio stations, and like they'd have their meetings there, and they'd always do the prayers first. And I was literally not allowed to tell any of them that I had worked for Planned Parenthood in the past. Like, my boss told me, we're just gonna leave that out. Like, let's not mention that to them. So yeah, I don't. It's like every suburb you've ever been to. It's exactly that plain, only worse.
It is. It's worse.
It's really, I mean, it's the place that, when I was a kid, it was the place you went to go school shopping in the fall, because they had a giant mall, and we didn't, and that's...
Oh, yeah, I gotta hit up Crossroads Mall, most exciting thing in central Minnesota.
They had an escalator, Dell. I don't know how familiar we are with their escalator, but the JCPenney's...
Oh, yes.
An escalator. And it was
Crossroads was where I went. I remember learning, I only lived like 20 minutes from that side of St. Cloud, and I remember learning that a lot of my friends drove from like an hour away to go to St. Cloud because that was the closest place you could do things. And I was like, wow.
That's as far as that. Yeah, I'm an hour away from St. Cloud, and that's what we, like, it was a big deal. Every year we'd get our friends together, and your parents would take you down to St. Cloud and just let you loose on the mall. Like, it was the greatest thing in the whole world. I remember when we were little kids, we would go there, and we would actually go to the JCPenney's, and my parents would just let us ride up and down the escalators, because we don't have any in Brainerd, and we found it delightful. Yeah, God, I'm living in a small
town. Glad you were easily entertained as a child.
Really, really were. Like, what is this magic? Stairs that move themselves? Witchcraft. We still don't have escalators in Brainerd that I know of.
Probably not. I feel like escalators are like a thing nobody does anymore, so I don't know.
Yeah, they really were just in malls and airports. I mean, I don't...
Yeah, malls and airports. Well, apparently the era of the like shopping mall is dead, I'm told. Yeah. So,
have you seen, if you go, I think on YouTube, or maybe it was on Vice, I don't know, somewhere, there's a TV show where it's just these two guys that go to abandoned malls. It's fascinating. And they'll go into like these just big suburban malls that have been totally abandoned for at least a decade. And it's like they're doing this urban adventure hunting thing, and it's really interesting. Like, they go in there and it's nature has just taken over in the mall. And they're like, this, you know, these were places that as teenagers, like when I was a teenager too, that's...
Why did malls die?
The internet. I mean...
Because, like, nobody needs to hang out there anymore?
Yeah,
or, like,
pretty much.
why... Because, like, I would still prefer to stop at a place where I do not have to drive to multiple separate places.
Yeah.
You know?
I think, honestly, part of it is the economy. You don't... Like, we used to really, really think of shopping as a pastime. Something that you just did for entertainment. And
I suppose online shopping is easier now, too. So you
really
don't, like,
is.
want to spend all day Saturday trying clothes on anymore.
No.
Yeah.
And, you know, when we were... Like, we had a mall in Brainerd. We still do have a mall that is suffocating
You have a
also.
mall there?
It's
Wow.
tiny.
I'm actually very impressed.
It's very little. All the stores are pretty much dead now. But that's what we did when I was like 13, 14. We hung out at the mall on Friday nights. We'd have groups of friends and we'd put makeup on, and our parents would drop us off at the mall.
Oh my God.
And then pick us back up like an hour or two later. And you would just walk up and down there was one corridor. And you would just wait for the groups of boys walking up and down the same corridor. And you would just walk past each other and not interact. But
I
just
think
look
by
at
the
each
time
other.
I was a kid, you know, it was like, you know, by the time I was that age, it was like past the year 2000. So like, I think that was a thing that like they did in corny movies, but like nobody actually did
really
anymore.
Did it.
You
We
know,
totally did. But it was the late 80s, early 90s, and yeah, we actually. I vividly remember sleepovers and putting all this makeup on.
God, that just seems like a way to attract a lot of creepy older men, to be honest.
I mean, really?
Isn't that how that
probably
guy,
was.
who was that politician somewhere in the South? Isn't that how he picked up his 14-year-old girlfriends at the mall? What's his name?
God damn it, what's his Ray Moore.
Yeah.
Ray Moore? Something more.
Something
he
more.
went to the mall, and because that's what you did. You walked around, and I don't know. I can't even describe how little there was to do before the internet.
It just reminds me of my experience at the Minnesota State Fair, because that's just what I experienced mostly at the Minnesota State Fair, was just older men being inappropriately interested in me.
See, the Minnesota State Fair, I never got to go to until my best friend that I had we started being friends when we were about 12, and her family went every year, so they took me along, but my family never went to the Minnesota State Fair. It just wasn't a thing we did. And I remember going there the first time just being like, oh my God, this is the biggest thing I have ever seen in my life.
So we didn't like venture out into the crowds very much because you're just there for days and days on end because your cows are there. So you just have to like chill, and like you don't wander that much into the cows. But you know, after like 10 p.m., there's plenty of dudes that have gotten drunk on the 3-2 beer. That's all that they sell there. And or like once the concerts are over and they sort of wander around being gross.
Yeah,
So.
I do vividly remember being like, my friend and I were given, you know, you can go be on your own for like an hour, but then we meet back here at this time, and there was always a place you had to meet back at, and we weren't allowed to go near the rides because that's where all the fucking creepers were, especially if it was at night, and no.
Yeah, the animal barns are pretty close to the rides.
To the rides,
So.
yeah. Weird.
Yep.
Anyway, life in Minnesota is fun. We have escalators, we have cows, we have fairs, and murderers. I don't know what else you could want. And creepy dudes.
You can never escape creepy men, unfortunately.
I mean, I feel like creepy men are everywhere, though. Not
They
just
are.
Minnesota.
It's a plague.
It really is. It's gross here, though. So yeah, I don't have anything else really interesting to talk about. I just
a fascinating, well-directed conversation.
It really is. Well, that's what we do best here, is we really get our shit together, and I write a whole script, and it's a whole thing, and I'm always amazed at, if you listen to Unapologetics, Nikki actually has an outline, and they have things ahead of time that they are going to discuss, and she sticks to the outline, and I find it so impressive. I just can't. I can't do that.
I do that with evidence-based eating, which is why I don't do a lot of episodes, because they take so much work. And then I have to outline them, and then you have to sound not scripted, but you have to not miss any points. And then usually I get to the end and realize I did miss a point, and then it's like, do I shove it in at the end and tell you I missed it? I don't know.
Yeah, it is way easier just to do a podcast where you do no planning at all, and you're just like, let's just talk about some shit and put it on the internet, see if anybody listens to it. So, I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, so the moral of the story, in my opinion, is if you would like to know how terrible the Catholic Church is in a sort of small microcosm, look at the website Behind the Pine Curtain.
Well, I'm definitely going to check it out now, because
detail, like, all the allegations in sort of the central Minnesota area, and there are over 100 people accused, and pretty
the priest
credibly
from my mom's church when she was a kid, their priest was accused a few years ago, and she's pretty sure most of the town was molested by this one priest, because it was an even smaller town than Brainerd. Like, she lived in a teeny tiny little town, and those priests had all the power in those towns, and like, I don't know. Even if the kids said something back then, the parents just either didn't believe them or didn't know what to do about it. Or, you know, I just, it's so gross.
Yeah, I feel like the people that are running the website, and they update it, you know, to this day. This website's been around for like 20 years. It's, you know, on one hand, they're definitely sometimes getting a little conspiracy-y and kind of assuming the worst out of every single situation.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, like, they kind of have a good reason, because there are like hundreds of these allegations that are very credible, and they have demonstrably done nothing about it. Like, a lot of these monks are just there at the abbey still. They just don't teach anymore is all the difference. They just like, oh, he's at the abbey and he doesn't work with the public much. And it's like, that's it? That's all we get for being a horrific criminal? Cool.
If they do something bad, they'll just move them to another parish, so it's fine. The town doesn't have
this
to worry
website
anymore.
also tracks like where these guys got moved to and where they are now, and, you know, who's dead and who's not.
It's like a massive criminal enterprise. It really is.
And this exists for, like, every diocese. Like, every diocese has lists with, like, 100+ people. It's
It's not like a little...
horrifying.
Like, it's... I can't even... I have a hard time understanding people that are still Catholic and how they reconcile themselves with that. Like,
my roommate, when she moved in and I mentioned that I went to Catholic school, she was like, what parent would let their child go to Catholic school in this day and age? And I was like, well, it was the early 90s, so I'm not sure they had quite the cultural awareness.
but there are still plenty of parents that let their kids go to Catholic school. I mean, it's... Because if you're Catholic, you know, what I usually hear is... It's not about the priests, it's about the parish, and your church is your community, and that's what you need to care about, is those
my parents
people in
didn't
that
even
parish.
really give a shit about that. They just knew that the public school had like 30 kids per class in first grade, and the private school had 15. So,
Yep.
also, I was in St. Cloud School District by 1 foot. Our house was in St. Cloud School District, and they were like, oh, you are not going to St. Cloud schools. No way.
I mean,
So
to
they
be
sent
fair
me
to them, everything in St. Cloud is terrible, so I don't blame
they
them
were
one bit.
right. I'm glad they didn't send me to St. Cloud public
it's,
schools.
It's awful. These days, St. Cloud has a whole lot more of the racism than it used to have.
Oh,
though.
God,
Like,
it's
it has
awful.
cultivated its own real thick brand of racism against Somalians. Like, that's its signature now, is they hate Somalians in St. Cloud. So,
Well, and there's been lawsuits against the school district for the racism and the hostile environment. I mean, apparently my cousins went to St. Cloud schools, and like apparently, you know, there's literally just like groups of kids like fighting each other in the hallways. It's, like, awful.
I have some cousins who live in St. Cloud, and their kids that went to the public schools, and they're, of course, my relatives are complaining because the Somalians get to do whatever they want to and pray 5 times a day and are just taking everything over, and it's
Yes, because I'm sure the children are just pumped about prayers, because that's how teenagers work. I'm sure
they
kids
love being singled out too from you know, doing a thing that the other kids don't have to do. And one of my one of my acquaintances, I don't even want to say a friend of my parents, but she is convinced that you cannot go to Walmart to the parking lot past 7 p.m. because that's when the Somalian gangs take over. And what they'll do...
I have been in many places in St. Cloud past 7 p.m. I mean, that's still the main town that I do a lot of my errands in.
Well, I don't know if you knew this, but they have buses
But I've actually already been murdered by roving gangs of people that have darker skin than me. I did not realize I've already been murdered, actually.
You have. They bring buses in from the cities and just drop people off. Just drop them right off in St. Cloud and leave.
Why would they do that? Why would anyone ever leave Minneapolis to come to St. Cloud? In the history of things that have never happened, that has never happened the most.
Have you seen the Crossroads Mall? It's really amazing.
They have an escalator.
They have an escalator. I mean, you move here from Somalia, the first thing you want to do is ride an escalator. I'm just saying. That's not, I mean,
that's clearly why they've been attracted to the St. Cloud area.
The fucking worst. I can't. Every time I drive down there now, if I see somebody with a face covering or wearing a burqa, not burqa, what's the word I'm looking for?
Hijab.
Hijab, yes. I feel bad because I'm like, that person's just going about their day, and there's probably people driving by like, oh my God, what are they up to? What is that? Why are they walking? Where are they going? And they're just fucking people trying to get through the day. Just like you, just leave them the fuck alone.
Buying their groceries.
Yeah. Nobody's trying to hurt you. Just go to the
What I like is you can really tell what stores are super racist and which ones aren't, because there are certain stores, Fleet Farm, that have not a single Somali employee. And every other store is like, many of the employees are Somalian because they're a significant portion of the population. And it's like,
Fleet Farm.
Never had anybody apply, huh? I'm sure they were just disqualified for resume reasons only.
Yeah, the Fleet Farm family is from Brainerd, Mills Fleet Farm, the Mills family. Not anymore, they sold it.
Fleet Farm, yeah. Mm-hmm. I have family members that work there. Although one of them went to Runnings because the pay was much better. So anybody in Minnesota, I hear Runnings pays better. Just saying.
I feel like I think I'm the only person that lives in this town that did not work at Fleet Farm at some point in my life.
Oh yeah, my husband did. My husband worked there for a few years.
My husband was injured there and had his first work comp injury through them.
His first work comp injury.
Yes.
Don't you love late stage capitalism? Where did your first workers' comp injury happen?
Yeah.
Oh, my first one happened here, and my second one happened here, and I lost the lawsuit for the third one.
How many years have you been fighting it? Oh, me too. How many times have you? Yeah, it's really fucking bad.
Great. America's great. Love it here. Super awesome.
It's the best. I love it so much. But we have a new president who's going to fix everything. So.
The Republicans told me what we really need is tort reform because people are just way too happy to sue employers, and how dare they? The employers need to be protected from greedy assholes like us, Amy.
You know what kills me is like, if people didn't have to live on such shit wages and constantly be hustling to have enough money just to live a decent life and maybe want to go on vacation, maybe if we had a decent standard of living, we wouldn't feel like we had to sue companies to get our health care covered.
Just to get our bills, like
just
our medical
to get our
bills
fucking
paid.
bills paid. Like, yeah, you're goddamn right. I'm going to sue anybody that I can find to sue because this is America. And, like, maybe if we had a universal basic income or Medicare for all or something that allowed people not to live just in a constant state of stress all the time.
The most recent Skeptarchy, I went on a tangent about how horrific our disability system is. Like,
I didn't listen to that one. I don't know if that's a new one.
It was like 3 sentences. It wasn't like that exciting.
I'm still psyched to hear it. So,
but yeah, I mean, so like they have rules about like the payments are tiny. Like they're so tiny. If you can get your Social Security disability payments, you're only allowed to own like $2,000 or $3,000 worth of anything ever at any given time, including your car or your house. So like, I have a friend who's been on disability her entire life. Her mother worked at 3M and didn't realize she was pregnant until like 4 or 5 months along in a department that, you know, back in the 70s when the rules were not great and in a department where you weren't supposed to work if you were pregnant. And anyway, so her kidneys have basically never worked, like at all. And so she's been on disability basically her whole life. She works part-time, but you're only allowed to work a certain number of hours and a certain amount of income, or you lose all your disability benefits, which includes your healthcare coverage. Yep. And remember, before the ACA, you obviously had a pre-existing condition. So if you lost your disability, like, you could not get a full-time job, even if you could find one that could take you, you know? Yep. Because other than her constant dialysis appointments, like, she probably could have done, like, a full-time job. But, like, they had to work around her dialysis appointments 3 days a week, which employers are just total assholes about most of the time. And, like, you know, you probably couldn't do anything too terribly strenuous, but, you know, she was a super smart, great person. But you can't even have, like, a decent car. You can only get, like, the world's shittiest beater car because you can't own more than, like, $2,000 or $3,000 worth of assets, ever. Yeah, and they track your bank accounts, and you can never get married or you lose all your health care and benefits. It's awful.
We are on round 3 of my husband's disability claim. We've been working on it for 3 years now, I want to say. And it's just a fucking nightmare. Like, he probably should have been on disability many years ago because his back is just so fucked. But, like, he didn't want to. He enjoyed working. He was able to work for my parents for a long time. And so because he worked for them, he got away with a lot of staying home when he needed to stay home.
Right, they were flexible with him.
They were very flexible with him and what he did and how his job description and how he did his job. And, like, it was a perfect situation. So he stayed there as long as that's a whole other story. But so
longer than he should have, perhaps.
Yeah. We've been denied twice now, and now we're to the point where once you get denied twice, which they tell you that your first denial is just standard. Everybody gets denied the first time. 30% of people get it on the first, maybe it's not even, something like 30% maybe get it on the first try, but most people by far get denied on their first try. And so we did our second one, got denied the second time. And when you look at the reasons for it, it's because he still has arms and legs and can walk. So,
which, this is ridiculous because a back injury like that is considered one of the easier things to get disability for. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually in their little book of
But I think that works against you now, because I think there's really this stigma that back injuries are just made up half the time. You know, like, oh, really? Your back hurts? Okay. And I feel like
human bodies were built, like, God did a terrible job when he built us. I'm just saying. Homeboy fucked up. Backs are terrible. I have a totally blown disc. My husband's already had back surgery. We're only 30.
Yeah. My husband's had 6 back surgeries, and my almost 17-year-old's already had his entire spine straightened out with titanium rods. So God's just not. But yeah, what kills me is my husband this year he will be 46, and when you hit 50, the guidelines change for disability. So before 50, you have to prove that you can't do any job at all. Whereas after 50, you only have to prove that you can't do the job you were doing, which is a very weird standard. But
they just figure after, like, you hit your 50th birthday and you're like, brain's closed, can't learn.
So my only ray of hope at this point is that once you apply for disability, starting from that date, if you do get it eventually, you get back pay from that date. So they give you a giant check, basically, for however long it... And this is a gamble on whether... Because if you don't get disability, you just don't get anything. But if you do get it, they pay you this back payment in a lump sum. And so I'm like, okay, if we just keep doing it, eventually he's only going to be 50 in 4 more years. Like, by the time he hits 50 and the guidelines change, if we can just hold out for 4 more years, then we can have the standards change and get a payment.
I'm sure it will be amazing and life-changing to have the money, and yet the money is still just so meager compared to what you actually need to live. Like, if you don't actually have anyone helping you, you're completely fucked.
You're fucked. Yeah, if we get it, from what I've, on all the research I've done and what I've estimated, basically, if he gets it, his monthly payment should be enough to cover our mortgage, and that's it. So, like, I still have to work for literally everything else, like every other bill, but at least
and his is probably better because he paid into Social Security.
He did for a long time.
People that are never able to work, like they get disabled in high school or they're born with a disability, they get like $200 a month. I don't know the number off the top of my head. It's like $200.
It's only a couple $100.
How could any human live on that?
You can't. And then you're shamed that you can't live on it. And if you try to have anything more than a $2,000 car, you're scamming the system somehow. And like, it kills me. I get so angry because, like, I guess we're meant to just work our bodies to death to be good people. And if we don't do that, then we're bad people. Well,
I think not enough people know, like, how hard it is to get and how little it is, because there's this bizarre sense in society that, like, people are on disability for shits and giggles because they're lazy and, like...
And it was super easy to get it, and they're buying new trucks and going on vacation. No, they're fucking not. And you don't... Like, people who think that don't know anybody who's actually had to deal with it.
Well, they always have, like, a friend of a friend.
I do.
Yeah, they have a cousin.
You've always got that one cousin. I have a cousin who's just kind of gaming the system and making some shit up. And, like, even if that person exists, I don't care. Fine, give them money. Like, if that means all the people who actually need disability can get it, then give the faker money too. I don't care. I really don't.
Right. Or maybe your cousin doesn't share their personal health details with you.
Maybe not.
Like, maybe
not.
Maybe you just haven't talked to them much and you think that they're lame and spend too much time on Facebook and you don't actually know what their x-rays look like, because that would be a weird thing for them to share with you because they know that you hate them. Like,
or maybe if we had a universal basic income and we didn't have to have 35 different bureaucracies for dealing with who gets paid what, when, and why, we could actually save money. I don't know. I could be wrong, but yeah.
You're not wrong, though.
The fact that he's had to go to these ridiculous doctor's appointments that... it's a joke. It's a total joke. We actually finally had gotten a hearing date, which was like, yes, we get the hearing, because everybody I know who's gotten disability has gotten it at the hearing, because that's where the judge looks at you and sees you and you talk to them, and like it's much more personal, and even our lawyers, like, that's your best shot at getting it is. But then COVID happened and all those hearings got shut down. And then at the end of the year, we finally got you can have a phone hearing, but our lawyer was like, you do not want to do a phone hearing because it's the reason that you're there in person is for them to see you and get a sense of who you are and feel that empathy, and you can't get that over the phone. Same with video visits. So we sent back a thing saying, no, we'll wait for an in-person. So now we just have to sit here and wait until, I guess, they clear up their backlog and we can actually go in person to do the hearing. So,
well, it's just another system that Republicans have gutted because people have to wait years for these hearings. And, like, if you don't have, they give you back pay at the end if they're like, oh, shit, we were wrong.
But that doesn't help in the meantime.
And in the meantime, people get what? Homeless?
Yeah.
I mean, what are they supposed to do?
They lose their houses, and that's like the people I've talked to who are on it, who I've asked questions of, are like, you have to just quit working completely, because if you don't, they're going to think you don't need it. But then at the same time, if you quit working completely, you're not going to have money until this thing works itself out, and that's going to be at least 2 or 3 years.
2 or 3 years, yeah, minimum.
That's the common is. It's usually 2 or 3 years. And at this point, I mean, hopefully he'll get it soon. But by that point, we'll be working on my disability claim, because then at some point, these intestines are going to totally fail me. And we can go through the whole thing again. And hey, kids out there, keep paper copies of all of your fucking medical records because the hospital is not saving those for you.
Ugh.
Which they don't tell you when you're younger. And then all of a sudden you have to find all of your medical records for your entire life. And you're like, oh, I'll just call the hospital. They have those, right? No, they threw them all away. So they only have to keep them for 7 years. Get physical copies of everything. So yeah, fun times.
Yeah,
anyway.
I've heard, it's a mess.
This has been a fun episode.
Maybe the Democrats could do something about the disability system. I mean, I know nobody's talking about it, but that also means that Republicans aren't railing about it either. So maybe they could just sneak it in under the radar.
If we can keep them focused on complaining about food stamps long enough, then maybe we could do the disability thing.
What were they complaining about? Biden took a picture with his family without a mask on.
Oh,
that was a big scandal.
Was he wearing an American pin? I bet he was not.
I don't think he was wearing an American pin. He's probably a communist.
He hates America. I knew it.
Also,
I knew it.
They're very upset that he removed one of the statues from the Oval Office. I forget which one, though. I think maybe Andrew Jackson or somebody. They're mad. He's been canceled. Probably for the genocide that he did,
Probably.
I think.
But it's, everything that Trump made go away was totally cool. Didn't he get rid of the MLK bust that was in this?
Yep, and he also told that black reporter that it was up in the air as to whether or not ending slavery was good for black people. So,
my God. I just can't.
You forgot about that, didn't you?
There's so much that you can't.
That was when he said that he thought he might be a better president than Lincoln because it was unclear whether or not Lincoln actually helped black folks. And the reporter was like, we're not slaves anymore. And he said, well, you know what I mean. And she said,
God.
No.
Do you feel like you need to just, what's the word? I need to depressurize from the last 4 years and just come to terms with what has happened for 4 years. There's just so much that...
That's what I've been doing. That's what I've been doing. You know those commercials where they try to show you what it feels like to have your sinuses stuffed up? So you're your head is floating? That's where I feel like I've been ever since the 2 days after the election when it all seemed pretty close. I'm just when your ears need to pop, so you're just kind of hearing things through a filter, because I'm like, wow.
That makes sense.
The nightmare is over.
Yeah.
We
still
can go back to normal political work, you know?
I can't. I'm too hung up on what if he comes back? Or even if he doesn't come back, what if Pence wins in 2024? Or I want to focus on the good stuff, but I'm an incredibly negative person, so
I just need to float for a while. And then you just kind of need to put your dirty gloves back on and then, pound the pavement in the midterms. Yep. So,
well, this has been a fascinating discussion about rural Minnesota and murder and Trump and disability and whatever else we talked about that I'll forget by tomorrow. So
it started out slow, but it was interesting by the end.
It really ended with a bang. So thank you so much, Dell, for jumping in. Amy with an I will be back at some point. She's dealing with shit, and 2 years ago I was depressed for the entire winter and could hardly do anything. So she deserves a break and I can record some other episodes. Anyway.
You can find people to talk to. You have a lot of friends. You're very gregarious.
I know everybody.
My God. Social butterfly.
Speaking of which, so total side story here, but one of my good friends in town is a pastor at the local liberal church, the one super progressive church in town. But so all the liberal people that go to her church. And I remember I gave my son had this pair of Hobbit slippers that were too small for him that he got for Christmas. So I went on Facebook and said, who wants these? And someone was like, oh, I want them for my kid. They'll love them. And so I got them to them, and their child wore them to church one day. And then one of my other friends saw them and was like, where did you get those slippers? And the first person said, oh, we got them from Amy. And they're like, Amy? Yeah, Amy. Amy. So apparently I am the Amy in town that knows everybody.
It's not that big of a town.
it's really not. There's more than one Amy, though, to be fair. And right now there's no Amy on Facebook because Facebook fucking banned me for 7 days, and I'm so angry. And they didn't even tell me why. Like,
They didn't tell you why?
no. Apparently now you can just, like, every other time it's ever happened, they show you a thing saying, here's the comment you made. That was a no-no. Don't do that again. This time I just got this generic thing that said, you have broken our community guidelines too many times. This ban will be in effect for another 6 days, 20 hours. And, like, they don't even tell you it's happening. You figure it out on your own by trying to post things, and it just keeps saying failed to post. And you're like, what, is my internet not? Like, it's the shittiest way they have to deal with.
You know,
and
I think I might have gotten a warning once, but so many of my friends have been banned, and I've just never have. I don't know if I just avoid their trigger words or something.
You must. You know what? Part of it for me is that because I'm so sarcastic and I'm always saying things like, quit being a bitch, Amy.
Yeah,
That stuff gets picked up.
I don't use swears. I don't use insults. Like,
Oh,
I will
God.
eviscerate somebody, but, like, I will do it like a
Like a lady.
gentleman from the 1950s. You know what I mean?
Just
like-
totally obliterate them without them even realizing it. Yeah.
Like, I'm just not a names person. Like, I don't even call Trump names. I just call him
Yeah.
Trump. You know, everybody has their favorite little, I don't know. It just never, it's just not a thing I do.
The first time I got kicked off for 24 hours, it was because I called Matt from Canada a lazy-ass Canadian. That was a funny joke. I was like, he knew I was joking, and I knew I was joking, and I was in retort to something in a private group where I'm like, you lazy-ass Canadian. Yeah, that's what got me the first time. But no, this time they just won't even...
I cannot remember who I saw, but they got, maybe it was Corey, got kicked off for like 24 hours for insulting Comic Sans font.
Yeah, I
font.
believe that. I believe that. Yeah, you...
Like, what is wrong with these algorithms?
And if you say anything about America, like, don't do that.
Or men.
Yeah, or men. Don't, oh my God, don't talk about men. One of my other friends who's currently banned made a good point that he's like, half the liberals I know are currently in Facebook jails. So conservatives, you can stop pretending like you're just being targeted and persecuted. Like, it's... I admin this liberal group in town, and half of the admins are in Facebook jail right now.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous. But anyway, hopefully I'll bust free of it fairly soon. And
Someday. If I was
hate
smart,
you.
I would make some sort of Les Mis reference now. But I remember.
Do you hear the people sing?
I don't.
Thank you for joining us. If you want to give us some of your money, please go to patreon.com/secularsoup. If you want to hear Dell some more with me, go to the I Date Me pod. Links are in the show notes. We had a great time doing that. Go check out Skeptarchy, which is also in the show notes, and evidence-based eating, also in the show notes, because I put everything in the fucking show notes.
Always. Never forget.
Yeah. Is there anything I'm forgetting that you want to...
No, I don't think so.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And God, I always feel like I know I'm forgetting something. I don't know what it is. Oh, we have a phone number now. People can call and leave us messages.
Wow. I feel like I should do that.
gotten
Just
one.
leave like a snarky message.
Yeah, we've only gotten one. Other than that, we get some missed calls that are clearly telemarketers. But come on, someone needs to call and leave us some fun messages.
Ever since we started this refinance journey with our house, I have gotten like 7 telemarketers a day. It is
God. Yeah.
horrific.
Filing
It
for
is
bankruptcy
awful.
is similar. It's just not cool. Have a great rest of the week. We will see you next time. Goodbye, Dell. Say bye.
Bye.
That's the noodle soup rag.
Come on, Chappie. I'm over here. Oh my goodness. Who's a good kitty? Who's a good kitty? Who's a big boy? Oh, just a good kitty. Who's a big boy? Are you my baby? Are you baby Chubby? Are you the baby Chubby? You love the podcast so much. And you so do. Oh, you're so happy. Oh, so it's time once again to give shout outs to our wonderful patrons. I have Mr. Chappie here, otherwise known as Sir Chappington, helping me do these shout outs today. So if you hear some purring in the background, that would be him. So if you want to become a patron, we would love you to join our Patreon family. I feel weird calling it that, but I mean, that's what people do, I guess. You can go to patreon.com/secularsoup. We have way too many Patreon levels. I should really think about paring those down. But we have lots of different fun stuff on there. We have early access to episodes. We have bonus episodes. If you join at $10 a month, you get a soup bowl personally made just for you. And yeah, we're thinking about adding some other stuff. I don't know. Who knows? It's fun. Become a patron. Everybody wants to do it. It's the cool thing. So if you pledge at $6.66 a month or more, which is called our Devil's Chili level, you get a shout out on every episode. So our Devil's Chili patrons are currently Lois, April, Shmishtina, Paul, Life in the Left Lane Podcast, Andy, Yesh, Natalie, Nuggin, and that's it. I'm bad at reading spreadsheets, so thank you all so much for your patronage. At the $10 a month level, this would be the Soup Bowl level, we have Itchy and Scratchy want you to please support the Secular Coalition for America and Camp Quest, two very worthy causes. We also have Renee, Elven Engineer, Verlaine, and our 14th favorite, Rich. Feeling generous this week, kinda. Oh, and Wendy. I forgot about Wendy because you came right after 14th favorite Rich. So, thank you all so much for your $10 a month donations. At the top tier, the blueberry dessert soup level, I cannot speak. That's our premier fanciest level for our fanciest patrons. $20 a month or more. We've got our favorite patron ever, who will never not be our favorite patron, Ashley. We have another guy we kind of like, Randall. Randall's fine. We enjoy him. He gives us money. We have My Name is Nathan. That's a good name. You don't usually hear My Name Is as part of your name, but it does make things easier, I guess. So thank you, My Name is Nathan. And our top patron continues to be Just John from now on at an astounding $42 a month. I have bought so much nail polish with that money. You have no idea. I've just been repainting them like every other day because so many wonderful colors. So if you would like to help support us, hopefully we can spend some more time podcasting if we can get some more support, or we could just pull a David Smalley and be like, we're not going to podcast anymore if you don't become patrons, because that seems like it'd be fun too. So anyway, patreon.com/secularsoup. There are links in the show notes. Please join us. We would love to have you, and see you next time. Bye.
Thanks to all of you motherfuckers who put up with the Amy's droning on week after week. If you enjoy their delightful bitchcraft, please follow them on all of the social medias and send them all of your money on Patreon or PayPal. You can find them on these platforms by using the Google machine. It's not hard. If you want to bitch with other fans about the show, join the Secret Soup Talk Facebook group. If you want to tell Amy and Amy to fuck off personally, you can send an email to secularsouppodcast@gmail.com, although it may go unanswered. Please rate and review the show on iTunes, Facebook, and wherever else you can review things like this. It will help spread the soup gospel far and wide. And hey, text someone right now. Tell your friends. As always, we'll leave you with the vocal stylings of Mr. Eli Bosnick.
Secular soup creed. Soup is the ultimate virtue. It's delicious, nutritious, patriarchy smashing, racism fighting, warm and fuzzy, human affirming, fun having, anti-theist, glitter throwing, tummy satisfying, pair of new shoes fulfilling, diversity seeking, happiness. Minestrone, beef and barley, chicken broth and split pea, gazpacho, tomato, clam chowder and potato, chicken noodle, beef noodle, egg drop and ramen cup. bibimbap, miso, gumbo, leek and pho. Grab a bowl and taste the magic. Slurp even this.
God damn it. I bought this headphone extender thing so that I could sit further back while I'm podcasting, but apparently Apple has like proprietary headphones. And so when I buy these extenders, they don't fucking work. God damn it, Apple. Fuck you.